You know, every single decision you make, from what you eat for breakfast to how a government runs a country, it's all shaped by a few really powerful ideas. Today, we're going to dig into the big ones at the heart of economics: scarcity, choice, and what it really costs to give something up.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the absolute basics, wants versus needs. Then we'll see how this huge problem called scarcity forces us to make choices. After that, we'll uncover the hidden opportunity cost behind every single decision and wrap things up by looking at how these same ideas work for entire countries.
All right, so what do we want you to walk away with today? Let's get super clear on our goals right from the start. By the end of this, you are going to totally get the problem of scarcity. You'll be able to explain exactly why we have to make choices, and you'll master this super important concept called opportunity cost. We're going to connect all the dots so you can see how choices and their real costs apply to pretty much everyone, from you and me to entire nations. Okay, so first things first. Believe it or not, almost everything in economics starts with two simple words you use all the time. But getting their meaning just right is the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about: wants and needs. Now, this might seem super obvious, but this difference is everything. Needs, those are the absolute must-haves for survival, no negotiating. Wants, that's, well, literally everything else we could possibly desire. Really getting this difference is the first big step to understanding why we make the economic decisions we do. And hey, this isn't some new problem about picking the latest smartphone. Since the very beginning of humankind, the central challenge has been exactly the same. How do we use the limited stuff around us to meet our basic needs and, survive? Just look at the picture. It's all right there. Water, some kind of shelter, a source of food. These are the timeless, original drivers of all economic activity. This is where the whole story really begins. So if we've got these basic needs and then this never-ending list of wants, what's the issue? Well, it all comes down to one massive, unavoidable idea in economics. And here it is, our first big keyword: scarcity. All it means is that our wants are pretty much endless, but the resources to get what we want, things like time, money, materials, are limited. There's only so much to go around. This basic conflict is what makes the entire world of economics tick. And scarcity isn't just some theory in a textbook. It has a real impact on every single one of us. Because we can't have it all, we are always forced to choose. For you and me, this happens constantly. Think about it. When you decide to buy a coffee, you're also deciding not to use that same money for something else. That's a choice forced on you by the scarcity of money in your pocket. And it's the exact same for businesses, just on a much bigger scale. A company can't make every possible product. It has to choose where to put its limited resources, its factories, its workers, to make the things it thinks people will actually buy. And this whole idea scales all the way up. Governments have a limited pot of money from taxes, so they have to make some really tough choices. Do we put more money into building hospitals, fixing roads, or funding schools? They can't do everything. So every choice we make because of scarcity has a cost. And this is where things get really, really interesting, because it brings us to our next big idea. Opportunity cost. This is our second major keyword, and it's a game changer. The real cost of something isn't just the price tag. It's the value of the next best thing you had to give up to get it. That's the true cost of any decision you make. Let's make this super simple. Imagine you've got $15. You can buy a video game, or you can buy 2 books. You really want both, but you can only afford one. You pick the video game. Okay, the price was $15, right? But the opportunity cost was the 2 books you had to leave behind. That's the real economic cost. Right? You'll often hear this called a trade-off. And thinking this way makes you realize that there's really no such thing as a free choice. Every time you say yes to one thing, you are automatically saying no to the next best alternative. Okay, so we've seen how this works for individuals. But how do all these little choices and their hidden costs affect entire societies? Well, it forces every community to answer 3 huge questions. Because countries also deal with scarcity, they have to figure out the answers to these fundamental questions. First, what are we actually going to make with all our limited resources? Second, how are we going to produce all that stuff? And third, once it's made, who gets it? And the answers a country comes up with, that's what defines its entire economic system. Whether it focuses on tech or farming, whether it uses robots or people, and whether the stuff it makes goes to everyone or just a few, it all comes back to these big choices.
So, if there's one thing to remember from all of this, it's this little formula right here. It's the engine of economics. The fact of scarcity forces us to make a choice. And every single choice has an opportunity cost. It really is that simple and that powerful.
And with that, I'll leave you with one final question to think about. Consider the last decision you made today. What did it cost you in money? And more importantly, what did you have to give up to make that choice? What was its true opportunity cost?